passing the floor to the Matthew. So Matthew, do tell us about yourself, your experience, and a brief introduction of what Call of the Void is about. Yeah, the floor is yours.
Hey, thank you. I'm Matthew Buxton. I am the co-founder, along with Jacob, of Mystic Games. We make Call of the Void, which is a top-down ARPG shooter with competitive Web3. We're a kind of a play to win, not a play to earn kind of model. We basically have this awesome game that's really fun for everyone, where you can actually own the token, and the token you spend to level up will go to the prizes towards the end of the season. A little bit about my background: I'm 18, I guess 19 years in games now. I started out on PS2, Nintendo DS. I worked for a good 4-something years at Jagex, makers of RuneScape, where I was doing raid design among other things. I've worked at Miniclip in Portugal for 8-ball multiplayer, where I did monetization and economy design, which really comes in handy these days. They actually sold that to Riot Games, to Tencent, for the same price as Riot Games, which is pretty cool. I was hired into King, makers of Candy Crush, by Jacob, and worked there. And we actually have a patent together for gameplay methods. I moved on then to Stockholm, where I'm currently based. I was game design director at Mag Interactive, then game words quiz puzzle games, and then game design director at Rovio, makers of Angry Birds. So that was the Angry Birds 2 studio I worked at. We founded Mystic Games in August 22, raised 1.27 million by December. And we've made our game since. We're a small team, 8 people, 80 plus years in the industry in terms of experience. So it'd be really cool if we can get to this and just enjoy the day.
Great. We are so excited for you to be here. And do check out their Twitter. We actually post this announcement on our Twitter as well. So you can check Call of the Voice and as well as Matthew Buxton's on Twitter as well. So, okay, let's dig into our topics for today. So I'll go with the first questions for Matthew. So do you believe in 2024, regulators might change their approach to the cryptocurrency industry, focusing more on working together with industry rather than the strict enforcement? That's what we've been, dealing with for the past years, starting on 2022 and then on 2023. So yeah, let us know what you think about it. Yeah.
I think there is a bit of a sea change going on with the approval of the ETFs. I think we've always been viewed as a kind of an outsider ecosystem, something that could disrupt banking. There was essentially we generate so much demand, that's why the scammers jump in. There's a lot of speculation. So I think we will see regulation slowly easing, because, for example, the UK says they want to become a crypto hub, even though they're quite vicious about offboarding. So I think while we're going to continue to see banks and the old finance systems trying to prevent off-ramping your crypto, I do think that at the actual core of governments, crypto is being looked at in a sort of slightly more favorable light. I mean, I think last year it took all of the chaos of the bear market took a lot of people out, like bad actors, out of the ecosystem. So I think, especially on the gaming side, I think we're going to see things changing, because even Apple and Google Play, who've been pretty mean about crypto, are lightening up. There are now games with tokens in them, so I think it's going to be better.
Great. I think the SEC is nursing 2 black eyes from the losers against Ripple, Grayscale in the federal court. I think they will be more interested right now into settling actions rather than engaging in a protected litigations. And I think I also agree with the points of there might be some hopes, glimmers of hopes that we could work as what happens in France or Dubai or Hong Kong. I also should hope that we could actually fostering some understanding or dialogues at least. But although there might be still a challenge about this. So yeah, I mean, Great. Let's move. I think we can, dig a little deeper on the next
Hmm.
questions, which is the standardizations of the regulation across different countries. So, what do you think is stopping this from happening, or stopping some countries that they wouldn't want to at least give it a try about this? Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things. There's it really depends on a country by country basis as to who has that kind of shadow economic power. If you're looking at smaller countries where the banking system is a little more unstable, I think they're more willing to embrace it. And I think, say, living in Western Europe, we're kind of in an anti-crypto bubble over here. Whereas if you look at actually CoinGecko, the adoption worldwide and the opinion of crypto is much, much higher outside of the West. So I do think that these regulations and standardization of regulations is something that is being essentially held back by the fact that you have some of the more powerful nations in the world still trying to work out how they actually make money from it and how they actually get their cut, while the sort of the up and coming nations, I think, will drive that a little bit. And if you look at, it's really hard even to remain compliant. So we, for example, to remain compliant with the crypto side, we don't really hold or can't really hold or be a crypto company in Sweden. So we have a Panama-based IBC. It's a holding company that holds the foundation. And this is not to evade any laws. This is just because there isn't enough standardization there. And I think like these recent like lawsuits and these things will actually force in America, they will force them to put some rules that can be understood down. And I think when the SEC chair maybe changes, I think we'll see something a little bit brighter, because we do want to comply. Like the larger businesses want to be able to comply because we can make more money in a better regulated environment. So I do really think that standardization will actually trickle down from the results of America, and that they're currently one of the larger blockers. So I believe that there will be sort of smaller standardizations among different countries. Potentially Asia could be the lead in this, but we'll see what America does in terms of that, because it is, after all, kind of the origin site of a lot of this.
Yep, yep, totally agree. I mean, different priorities, different approach towards these countries. Also, some technological complexities, and of course, they want to, get something from from the law itself that they wanted to
Of
create.
course.
So yeah, totally agree. Okay, let's move on to this one a little bit, some relations with what we are talking about, but I do think it's kind of things that they are trying to get, which is involving AI. So how do you envision those regulators addressing this, rising of artificial intelligence on 2024? What, if can we say what will they do, in terms of this so-called trend nowadays? Yeah.
AI is one of, possibly it's the most disruptive trend, and it's an existential threat, say, for us in video games, how we do business. I've been talking with many studios. Many small studios don't even employ 2D concept artists anymore. It's just not worth it. Or if they do, they only have one, because you can generate so many images. It's it's going to come down to, I mean, Europe loves regulation. They're like massive fans of EU regulation, whether it's about the type of plug that you can put into your MacBook or something like that. They will definitely slap down hard, because I think the main thing is that some of the AI is kind of struggling to find a use case, because you can do kind of anything with it, but at the same time, kind of not a lot. And in the meantime, it's going to accelerate to the point where potentially you can get the ASI and even start to approach the level of computational knowledge, or just general knowledge of the ASI, to even start breaking some of our wonderful crypto kind of protections that we have. So it's a little scary how fast it's going. And I do think it's like one of those things that, for example, a lot of people don't realize what their kids are watching on YouTube. And it's this kind of thing that we have people in charge who are ancient, like Joe Biden's like 81 or something in America.
Mm.
I have no idea how this is actually going to be understood by a lot of the people who are going to regulate. But I think Europe will regulate first, America will accelerate, and then let's see what happens. But it's going to be a huge disruption. It just hasn't hit yet because companies are founding AI stuff and they're basing it on ChatGPT. ChatGPT then releases a store, rug pulls all those companies. So it really does need a kind of a sustained product that everyone uses before it, I think, breaks through.
Yep, yep. Until I think we come to a point where they can, finalize some conclusions from the technology itself, like from the what they found from the AI, and then they can,
Mm.
mm, like how to say, like make it into pieces and pieces, and then they will target it some, regulations towards it. But I think I mean, AI is still wide, and everybody is trying this and that. So we can say it's a ticking time bomb until we know something arises that they wanted to say about AI. So yeah.
I agree with
Okay.
that, and I think the one thing that is actually going to happen fastest is the regulation against using images to represent people, because we've already had I think it was the first kind of deep fake like phishing fraud where someone convinced, I think it was someone in Hong Kong, to wire like $25 million by appearing on a video call as a bunch of people from the company. So I think that's going to be slapped down first. So using people's likeness, I think, will be very quickly banned.
Mm-mm-mm. I think AI is more on, yes, they can narrow it down to, those kind of things that we do in tradings or etc. etc. But it's actually, even if we're discussing about AI issue itself, it's like it's so wide, and I think it goes back to the point where they can actually target it, some that they could get a hands on it, because it's so wide right now. But yeah, I mean, totally
Agreed.
agree. Okay. So, in terms of, as you mentioned about the SEC and etc.,
Mhm.
so how, I think this is, you have several experiences talking about, other spaces as well. So, how do you see the approval of the Bitcoin ETFs by the SEC impacting the crypto market this year? So, will they, considering stand a chance on Bitcoin as
Mm.
if they still think that Bitcoin is a speculative or volatile asset? So yeah, what do you think?
I think that everyone's going to still say crypto is more volatile. I mean, even all of the Web3 games kind of follow the ups and downs of crypto. I mean, Axie Infinity was doing absolutely crazy until the bear market, and I think where Bitcoin goes, everyone leads. I wouldn't be surprised if more come. I think the one thing that's going to sort of really be interesting is if there are essentially, like, say, let's just say Bitcoin, Ethereum, maybe Solana, some of the other popular ones, if those ones kind of get a kind of a preferred status, maybe XRP because it's meant to be for banking. And it would be really interesting to see if we kind of end up with a two-tier crypto world where there are those that are thought of as legitimate and those that are thought of as not, or shitcoins as we call them. So with the proliferation of coins and so many of them, and the fact that you can kind of send any old scam coin to any wallet, and the fact it's really hard for a normal everyday person to even understand half the stuff we talk about, and we talk about education, getting them into it. I think the ETF is a really good step in the right direction to kind of, as long as we get also with that, like we were talking about earlier, the sort of clarity and regulation, I think we stand a really good shot to end this year with potentially a kind of legitimized Bitcoin.
Mm-mm. I mean, of course, the approval of this, ETF was a significant milestone for us in the industry. But I totally agree in terms of, it still uh, have some unfolding, or depends on several factors. They might. Uh, of course, the positive side is to, increase the mainstream adoption, so-called, greater market stability, as we want it to be. But in terms of I think that they won't be as aggressive as before, but they won't let it go. for sure. So it's either there are some impact towards, like you said, like towards other countries, as to what we have in Dubai. Like it's become a crypto hubs already. Hong Kong as well. Even the EU's with the, if I'm not mistaken, the market in crypto assets, the MICA, so-called principle. So it's just, I think it kind of depends on the impact that concentrated in the US still, but they might. I mean, they usually will look at other countries first, or the other big countries first. So
Mm.
yeah, okay.
I think you're right on that, and I would say also, like, for example, in Asia, Singapore is really crypto friendly. I think these crypto friendly finance hubs are going to definitely be leading the way with interesting products and ways of doing that. I think there's going to be newer, more legitimized banking and investing things coming out, which will actually be keeping your wallet safe and doing all of that kind of cool stuff. And you'll eventually get this kind of merging of the Web3 and Web2 banking systems, where you'll get some Web3 people coming in and disrupting, and some of the Web2 like current incumbents will start embracing that once they're wholly sure that they can't kill it, and then they can make money from it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, yeah, I think after the approvals, if I take a look back at our previous in others Twitter space or AMAs, when we talk about regulations, there's sort of a lot of course, our own predictions to as what to happens on 2023, and then right now we are talking about 2024. So after the approvals, mainly what we hope for to happen, it happens, but I think it's more on, I mean, in terms of all the projects as well, in terms of navigating cautiously, not to do anything. We're still doing that. I mean, for sure. But yeah, okay. I think it goes down to our very last questions. I will just take about 30 minutes. So I think it's kind of right on time. What are your expectations for the regulatory and policy changes in the cryptocurrency in 2024? So is there anything that we should look up for, or you as the co-founder itself, uh, what are the things that you do in order to keep your projects on tracks and etc.?
We certainly always have a crypto lawyer based out of Dubai, actually Singaporean, who will keep us apprised of latest developments. But I think with crypto, it can be fast moving, and then sometimes you can be waiting for ages. So I think the current status quo is only really going to be tested with something else big happens. Either we're going to go into this massive bull run, or we'll see a slight pre-halving crash or pullback, and then it's going to go absolutely crazy. So I think the regulation is actually going to be tied to the price action on Bitcoin, I would imagine, because if
Mhm.
there's some sort of flash crash, that's going to cause things to, like, companies to feel pain, and then that might prompt them to regulate in a harsher way. Whereas if people are going crazy and taking a lot of money out of this, I think then it's going to panic governments, because there's nothing that scares them more than regular citizens suddenly becoming rich with something they have no control over. So I think it's really the price action will determine the regulation, because there's a lot of other things going on in the world at the moment as well. So it's going to be an interesting year. My prediction is that we will see a slight easing on the general sort of harshness after we've got through with some big companies.
Mm-mm-mm. I mean, that's the interesting point to look at it. I mean, it depends on the price. It can be depends by the prices, whatever happens on it. Of course, it tends to, I mean, on the general perspective is that people easily can look up to see how it's success. I mean, if Bitcoin is a success, or the price is something like this. I mean, I think that is a normal or a Web2 mostly, wanted to look at. And on my perspective is that I mean, I can be slightly a little bit positive on the side where they actually
Mm,
have some sort of a I call it like a regulatory sandboxes. They allow control experimentation with innovation of crypto projects. So they, for them to managing the risk, that is a positive thing that I can see now. I mean, as despite all the spotlight that we have from last year, of course, as I mentioned, I still think that they might focus on specific areas. They might, do some licensings or anything like that, in order to grasp, put their foot, one foot in it. So yeah, I mean, that
Yeah,
kind
I
of.
agree. And there's all sorts of parts of crypto as well. Like if you look at some of the projects, like there's I think it's San Fran Tokyo, or they're doing like anime licensing or manga licensing using NFTs and things like that. There are so many things that are going to be digitized. There's digital products. There's the whole. I think the metaverse is kind of dead, and I think that kind of massive terror of the market falling and massive and the big incumbents like bleeding, or um,
Mm,
stable coins suddenly depegging. I have a feeling that like the worst of that is over, so I think you're right. The sandbox is definitely back in play.
mm, mm, mm. Yep. Okay, so I think that's we've pretty much covered every question. So just the last part, do you wanted to share more for our community, because this recording will be posted on Twitter as well. So is there anything your last words? Yeah.
Thanks, of course, for inviting me to take part in this tea time. It's been very fun to meet and to chat about regulation. I just like to say a little bit more about Call of the Void. We're a Web3 game project that is going to be up for a token launch very soon. We're working currently to onboard some IDO partners. We're very well backed by some of the biggest VCs in the space, including 7X, who are portcos of the famous LPs of the famous Bitcraft. And yeah, download the game. It's live now on Apple and on Android. You can go search Call of the Void, Heartliners, Void with a Y. Download it, join our community, be part of the fun, and get ready for some interesting and exciting airdrops, prizes, NFTs, genuine game design. It's going to be great.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. So I hope to have you on our next tea times, which I think it'll be more interesting in terms of the trends. I was thinking about talking about ERC 404, what is happening with that? Is it, a true or not? I'm really, uh try to dig more into it. So we'll be in contact with you for sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and it's been a massive pleasure. All right, take it easy, everyone.
Right. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.